Done it?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you and I can see you.
All right.
Yeah, I think so. As we had discussed earlier, you'll just be talking about how your engagement with IEK has been as the president of the institution. Though at first you'll introduce yourself and then just say about your engagement, and then from there members will ask questions, any questions that may be relevant. Though members are
Okay.
encouraged, not to ask questions that will be asked in the AGM. You can just ask Engineer Collins any other questions.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would like to thank everyone who has come, Engineer Ndolo for hosting this. And at this juncture, I would like to give it to the floor to Engineer Ndolo to say something. Ndolo.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Just a minute.
Yeah, good morning.
Let me put my headphones. All right. Good morning, Engineer Collins.
Good morning, Engineer Ndolo. How are you?
I'm doing great. I would like to thank you for taking the opportunity of coming on board, and also thank my my hardworking co-host Diana for at least getting in touch with you and making sure that you can be with us today in the morning. Just as Diana had put it, we just want to have a chat with you and see, get to know how far did you manage to handle the institution, how far, what did you achieve, what is there to be achieved, and if there's any failure that members might need to know, then they can also know that here, as Engineer Collins, I take fault that I didn't manage to do 1, 2, 3. Otherwise, I think you can take some 2 minutes to introduce yourself, and then take some few minutes also to do that, and then we can members will be able to ask you questions. And for that matter, I would want to mute all other participants except the hosts and the speaker, so that we don't have noise in the background, and so that we don't have. Just a minute. This, and then Diana, Engineer Collins. All right, Engineer Collins, the floor is yours. Now you can introduce yourself properly for other members. Some of them I know are still graduate engineers or students. They can know you better, and then we go next stage.
Thank you, Engineer. My name is Engineer Collins Juma. So when you say I introduce proper, I don't know what you mean.
Like,
I'm the president.
I think the proper introduction would be maybe your background of education and also work experience a bit, just in a minute or so, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I say, the current
Engineer Collins.
President and I'm a mechanical engineer by profession. I think all my life I've worked in the energy sector, and maybe that's where I'll retire from. So apart from working for the sector. I've also been in the council for some time. I served in the functions committee for a long, long time. And well, that's it.
Okay, and now since coming into the position of the president and comparing with the times you served as in the council, just maybe as an ordinary member, what changes or positive changes that have you seen, and what have you done for members to appreciate?
Yeah, no, it's not been easy. It's not been easy, and even those who are taking over, it's not going to be easy because we took over council where we had to really struggle to change a lot of things, and these are some of the things that we even tried to change when we were in the in the council as ordinary members. But as you know, people always have different opinions. So sometimes when you read from different scripts, it's very difficult to convince the other parties that are reading also from another script that we need to change this for the members. But I can say that the future is bright for IEK. The little we've done in the last 2 years, I think will form a foundation stone for what will be done maybe in the next 10 years. And I think it should be a springboard for the incoming council to build on that and then serve the members. We've had a council where when we called for a meeting those days, and I used to get frustrated because when I was in functions, we call for a lunch which is free, and you find you are only around 20 people in the room, and it's frustrating. Okay, we've changed that to IEK, where if we call a dinner, I think the last dinner we were 1,000+ people. We are very happy about that. At least people are taking interest in the institution, and this also has been demonstrated by the number of people that showed their interest in participating in the elections as candidates and also as voters. Thank you.
So the presidential dinners have been a successful in bringing members together for a function, for a meeting or something.
Yeah, precisely, so that the members can interact, and networking in engineering is very important, and people learn a lot from the other. The fact that you are right does not make me wrong. Maybe I have another way of explaining it. So you come to understand one another, how maybe someone has reached where he is, or he or she, and what needs to be done to the institution and then to the profession. So we find these dinners are very important, and I hope they will continue.
All right. And what are the failures maybe you've seen during your time? Apart from members not being able to attend, because I understand most of the meetings, these meetings are voluntary, especially for the council members. Maybe they just get some sitting allowance for a meeting or so. But generally, what are the benefit members really need to know, that these are the benefits of being a member of the society, and then they show the interest of attending meetings and even the AGM, because so far I understand even 2016 the meeting in Diani was not that much attended. The young engineers did not show up as required.
I don't know this term, young engineers. I don't know what is the age limit for young engineers, because when I became a president, I think I was 50 years, and I considered myself to be a young engineer, because maybe at that age, I think there's been never president of that age. So I really considered myself young. But coming back to what you were saying, this is some members or a learned institution where people are supposed to interact and then discuss engineering matters and take the profession forward, and where you build the fraternity and you build yourself. And these are the benefits that the members should see. Really, there's nothing, a financial benefit, as you said, that you get from this institution. I think Even when we go there, you sit and they give you 2,000 for fuel. Maybe some of those members, they drive cars that where they've come from, you cannot even fill it with 2,000. So it is the interest in the institution that matters. And then what do you want to discuss? And then how do you want to build the institution, especially what you've called the young engineers? How do they bring up? I would say that one of the things that we've tried, but we've really not succeeded to do very well, is the conversion of the graduate engineers from graduate to professional. But we've tried, because I think the conversion rate within the last 2 years has been around 60% from what we used to, a growth of 60% from what we found. But it can be better. That's what I can say. Yeah, so that's one of the areas that we really have to work with EBK, and we check what needs to be done, because the basic engineering profession is the same. So what is it that we have a bottleneck somewhere where people are not ready to be converted to professionals? I think that's one of my areas of concern. Thank you.
The term young engineers, because in any professional society, it really need to make a good succession plan. And the good succession plan must bring in the youthful, energetic ones who can move up and down to other places. Like I can say for a fact that IEK is not covering the whole country. It's covering, we can say, southern Kenya, that is central Kenya, Mount Kenya region, western and coast. But when you go north, Isiolo areas, we have no real representation. That's why there is that term coming in, young engineers, energetic, who can move around, and representation being seen in each and every county. So what has IEK done to ensure that there's enough and proper representation in each and every county to fight for the local engineers' welfare on the ground? Because that is the most important thing. Right now, the county governments are doing infrastructure, and we know that for a fact, around 70 to 80% of any country's or a county's economy relies on engineering profession.
Yeah, why I was trying, I really get what you're talking about, engineer. But why I don't like that term, young engineer, it connotes some us versus them, which I really don't like, and that's what I've tried to kill in this institution, this thing of old and young, and then you find that you end up fighting each other, which is not necessary in the profession. So I think engineers should see themselves in terms of discipline. Is it mechanical? Is it civil? Is it electrical? Is it mechatronic? And all that. But when we introduce young and old, then it connotes of this us versus them, which is really not good for the institution. But coming back to what you said, yes, that one actually does not need young or old. What we need to do is what we mapped out in the strategic plan, and we've mapped the areas, what belongs to coast, what belongs to northeast, and what belongs to west, and what belongs to central. And if we can identify the engineers in these regions, and then the leadership in the area that they cover, whether that leader is old or young, they should be able to bring up the issues that are coming up in the county. I don't think it's a matter of, an issue of age that can sort out that problem.
Yeah, true.
Maybe.
But then there's an angle was coming up with. That's why there's that terminology still coming in. Then there is a faction of the members in the group, in the society, that really think that IEK is a matter of us and them. There are people
which is really wrong.
There are people who really don't feel well represented, and there are people who feel that, okay, this is a society that belongs to the few of us. That is, if you look at like in the group where the Telegram, during the election, everybody came in. Even the last election, 2018, everybody came in to campaign, including you, engineer. But then after the election, everybody disappeared, and now people are relaxed. There's no proper communication. Like the documents to be discussed for AGM meeting, they are not coming out for members to see them. You see, so many of the engineers feel that this is a clique of the few, and if not everybody is represented. That's why why do you think there is this issue of us versus them?
We've tried to kill this us versus them, and if you check the composition of the council that I'm just leaving, we've been a mixture of old and young people, and actually very young people. Even if I don't consider myself to be young, there are people there who are far much younger than me, and we worked very well with them, and we interact as engineers. That's what we try to discuss in the council. Now, coming back to what you've just said about, I remember we agreed that we'll not discuss what will be discussed in the AGM, but you brought it up. I think the documents were shared yesterday, and maybe what has not been shared could only be my report, which will be shared this morning.
Yeah.
But this is a big improvement. I can tell you for sure, without fear of contradiction. We've had AGMs of IEK where the minutes were not there. We've had AGMs of IEK where the accounts are not signed. So the problem, and this we face as a country, when you do an improvement, people demand more, which is good, But I think we should also, we should also appreciate the little that has been done.
Sure.
We are struggling under very difficult conditions to have this AGM. And we met as a council, we said, we can't postpone this. We have to do whatever is possible to have this AGM so that I'm also tired. I want to pass the baton to some people also so that they also take the heat.
Yeah.
But going forward, and the key word, let's remove this thing of us versus them. We'll sort out the engineering problems in this country.
Right. At this moment, I will allow Diana to ask some 2-3 questions. Diana?
Actually, you've asked most of them. The problem that has been raised mostly has been communication. Considering that even the minutes of the last AGM, we got them last night, even the SGM that was the minutes were supposed to be here before even the elections were also received last night. That is the resolutions. What's your comment about communication? How can it be improved? I can see Engineer Fred saying that on the chat that us versus them is the problem of communication. Do you think so? Or do you think it's just a stereotype that is created?
No. We are trying to kill the stereotypes. But what I could say, I don't know what the members would be comfortable with. Even from where I work in the office, if I send the board papers a month before, and we have the meeting today, I have to remind them tomorrow to read them. It works like that. The fact that we sent them yesterday, I think is good enough for people to read this document. I don't know why you would want them 3 months before, because people are also busy doing other things. We have to prepare this document, meet and approve them, and then we send them to the members. Would a day just be good enough for the AGM, or we want them months before? You see, we also correct from what we get from the members. In fact, we could also come and distribute them on the floor of the house, but we didn't want to do that. So we cannot improve on that. Communication is a problem in IEK. I think we are trying to do a structure which is in the strategic plan, where we'll have a communication so that most of these things we can have what they used to call the public relations officer, but we need a communications consultant to at least tell the people what we are doing, because many people don't know what we are doing.
Okay, my other question would be on gender. What, because in your term as the president, what do you feel that needs are, I know there was formation of the whose TOR are on the website. What, going forward now, what would you advise about increasing the numbers of women engineers not in the council really, but in IEK and practicing engineers actually?
I'm not sure I understood that, because when you talk of gender, you talk of where there's representation. And the council is a representation of the engineering fraternity, I believe. And if you check the figures of the last election, you'll see that, and I want to believe that when you talk about gender, you are talking about ladies. That's the way people understand it.
I'm talking about the 30%,
so if you're talking about that, then I think this council scores well, because out of the 11 positions, ladies ran away with 6. Actually, we got congratulations from quarters we've never heard from. So gender, we are doing very well. In terms of them joining the council, you see, you can't go and whip. You can't go and whip ladies up, please. But we can do the sensitization. And this one is not only for lady engineers to join the council, but we are talking of science and math. Yeah, and this one should take root right from primary to secondary to university. Then we'll gap that gender that we are talking about. Yeah.
Okay. At this point, I think I would allow other members to ask questions.
I can see we are frozen. Or
before you continue, I would like to ask questions like any other professional society. I know you've seen the British setup whereby the professional societies. I am an electrical person, so I'm a member of IET UK, and there is a lot of work they are doing in improving the way students and pupils in schools take STEM seriously. Because out of STEM, that is where we will have all the other engineering professions. We can have biomedical engineers, we can have even genetics engineers. Or of course, people still have a debate that it's not an engineering per se. But what has IEK done to ensure that there is proper understanding of STEM in the ground, especially for primary pupils and secondary students in Kenya, because that is where we will have the glory of this of the profession being shown to the students at a young age, and they can be able to take pride in taking these courses. If you look at the last the 2019 exams, there is a number that is really wanting. Most of the, of course, we needed teachers, but the people who chose to go for engineering were ranked 5th, I think. So there is something amiss on how IEK is doing mentorship programs in the whole country. I don't know whether we have such a structure at IEK. So maybe you can.
No, we've just started it in the new council, and I have to congratulate one engineer, Imeldo Diambo, who has been leading this, and engineer Eric Ohaga in terms of mentorship. We've started this, and I think they'll take it to the next level. But mentorship has never been, I don't want to say a priority, but maybe for lack of better words, in the past, mentorship has been very, very, very low in the priority of IEK activities, which is very unfortunate. But I can say that it has been started, and it's good. Engineer Eric Ohaga has been elected to the council. I think they'll take it forward. Yeah.
Okay, and then somebody sent me a text just now. I was reading it when my camera was off. The text is asking that during your tenure, it's when there are rules that were published by Engineers Board of Kenya without proper members, or rather, proper taking into consideration of the welfares of the members, like the increment of the subscription fee. And we know for a fact that many of the subscription fee that were increased is going to hinder the new graduates that are coming out with help loans, with some tax CRBs to look into. This is going to hinder the numbers that you want to build. As IEK, you need to build numbers. Now, apart from the rules, also came up with the thing with the 3 years postgraduate engineers registration. We know for a fact that during the last 12 or is it 12? Something or 12 or so years, from 2012, since the first graduates from other universities came in, that were not accredited, but the Supreme Court ruling allowed them to be registered as graduate engineers. They are the people who had been working from 2012. Come to 2019, they're now being restricted that the graduate engineer must take 3 years after graduation for one to be registered as a graduate professional engineer. Now, this is going to hinder those who already had experience from 2012, or even, for example, those who had applied and their application didn't take, was not done in rightfully at the time. For example, there's a person who graduated in 2012 from a foreign university, but then his or her papers from EBK only came in 2017, 2018. You see, so this 3 years postgraduate, can it be looked into? Or why was it passed without the members' input? The stakeholders were not called to get for proper information. And I remember we collected information on this, and Engineer Okanga sent our recommendation through Engineer Musao Stanley. But when the publications were done, the rules were published, it only came as it were, the original rules that were sent to members. There was no consideration on what members had, or rather the stakeholders put their views were not taken into consideration. So this member who sent me a text is asking, will you then take the blame that you failed to fight for the welfares of engineers?
Engineer Ndola, I think you are preaching to the converted. This is an issue that we've taken up with EBK, and I would say that it's for the first time, maybe in the history of this country, that we are trying to work with EBK and sit on the table and reason. Mm-hmm. And we've just had our first meeting with EBK on various issues, that being one of them, because we are saying the same thing. I can't work for 20 years and I have projects that are my signature projects, and then and then I come to register, then you tell me, can you wait for 3 years? When I already have a projects which are signature projects of myself. And I think it's an issue that is being looked into. And alongside that, there's a general feeling that we need to review the Engineers Act 2011 and maybe make some amendments to that act. You know, there are some people who are out there and they've also formed their own institution. It's not good for the fraternity. I believe that what we've started, the engagement we've started with EBK will continue, so that we can be reading from the same page. It is the same issue of us versus them. We've had fraternities where ASEC doesn't see eye to eye with IEK and EBK and all that kind of nonsense, if I might call it. But it's something that we want to close on, so that all these engineering fraternities can work together. We are working on that, especially the 3-year issue. I know it's a very contentious issue, and as I told you, you are preaching to the converted.
Right. At this moment and juncture, I would like to give members with questions. You can raise your hand so that I unmute your mic, and then you can ask the question, so that we don't interfere with others. Only if you don't have a background noise. So I don't know, Engineer Okanga, are you there? Engineer Ndio, you have a question? Of course, Okanga was saying that 24 hours or 20 days, whatever duration, it should be standardized in meetings, so that the documents are sent early. Right.
Yeah, I think this issue has come at the right time. I'm looking at the screen, I can see what Engineer Okanga is saying. Mm-hmm. This issue has actually come at the right time, because even when you say we didn't send, well, are we supposed to send after a day or so? It's good the members will be meeting from 2. They should actually fix the time when they can have the minutes and they can have the resolutions of the council. It's something we can discuss and agree upon.
Okay, there's when you came into office from 2015, there was a struggle to change the constitution, and then I understand that the constitution review was not finished. So, what do you think made the constitution review not come to conclusion, and what can be done? So, because a society without members not participating fully will always have some members will always feel that they are left out. That is, then again, we will still come to us versus them. What do you think should be done to ensure that the constitution review is finished as soon as possible?
Well, I really have nothing really to say about this, because I'm equally disappointed that this constitution was not completed. And when we came into office, we appointed a committee to work on this in constitution review. I hope my good friend, Engineer Stanley, Engineer Uma is here to hearing this, because Uma was very passionate about the constitution. And when the council came, I told the council, why don't we give this committee to be shared by the person who is passionate? But we've never seen a document that we can discuss. It's unfortunate, but I think the new council should take it up at the first item on the agenda. Now that there's a strategic plan, they should pick the constitution from day one, so that we align this constitution to the Constitution 2010 and also the Engineers Act. And then we sort out all these issues we are talking about. We have them in that constitution. Maybe if you ask me one of the failures, that's one of my failures, that we didn't achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is your say about members voting, like not students, but because students are still learning, but anybody who has already graduated and already in the register of IEK, including graduate engineers? What is your say about that?
And the members have a say. Actually, it's not the say of the president. The members have a say, and now that the members will have an opportunity to write their constitution, what my say is what is in the current constitution. Mm-hmm. But the members can open up this to include graduate, or even to include students if they so want to. Mm-hmm. This is something that cannot be a dictate of the president.
Mm. Somebody just sent me a private message asking, the constitution review that was there, the new constitution is, the document is right now on the website, yet it was not finalized. What is your say about that?
I'm not even aware that it's in the website, because we've never discussed that constitution in the council. Mm-hmm. To approve it to go to the website. So it could be there by mistake. We don't have a document that we can discuss. Okay,
and then during your time, you also ensure that members are supposed to have a proper new website, whereby there will be online application, which I started agitating for from 2018, and it took us 2 years. And then when the website has come in, now there is mixture of things. If I tried going in, the first time I appeared in agricultural engineer section. the next time
we agree that one is still a mess. Mm-hmm. And the other mess also is that we have to clean our register. It's something we've tried for 20 years. Mm-hmm. We have a whole mess in the register where people have. Some people, 2 people are sharing a number, or 3 people. It was even an issue during voting. But I think the council has tried to clean this. It's something that we also had to involve the police to help us clean the register, because we found some certificates were not in order. It is a work in progress, and that's what I can say. Yeah.
There's a question here from Engineer Dick. Question about what the council is doing about unrecognized degrees and the process of getting license from EBK. I think the process for getting license from EBK also arises from a good friend of mine who got corporate membership from IEK last year, but up to date, he has not been given the license from EBK. And also, you can look at it together with the unrecognized degrees.
I really don't understand what Dick is asking about these unrecognized degrees.
These are the unregisterable degrees that we have in the country.
Yeah, because the issue of regulation squarely lies with EBK. And I know we are having a push and pull with EBK on one issue where we have our corporate member, and And they also want to have a look at the document. They've explained to us why they would want to do that, because they are also trying to comply with the law. If you check the Engineers Act 2011, actually the issue of registration squarely lies with EBK, but we can mutually work together on this. And what we are proposing is that we have one panel comprised with people from IEK and EBK, so that we don't have this thing that you walk from EBK, you go to IEK, you come back and get to the certificate. We are trying to harmonize that. Those are some of the issues that we discussed when we had our first meeting. Okay. In the issue of unrecognized degrees, that is purely them, and I think they've been visiting universities to look at the labs, look at the workshops. They should be able to advise us which ones are recognized and which ones are not. And I think they've also suffered, the first blood has been drawn from them by the Supreme Court, where they were told to register some people from some of those universities. So it's an issue that is not in the domain of IEK. We can only discuss with EBK. But what we are saying, the students should not suffer. You knew 4 years ago that someone was doing engineering up to 4 years, then you wake up, you say it is not recognized. I don't think even the parents would forgive the country for that. So we should find a way of, if we feel it's not right, then you arrest it from the beginning. You don't arrest it at the end.
Mm-hmm. This one also comes with the fact that IEK constitution from time immemorial is still allowed to recognize technologies, technicians, and craft persons. But unfortunately, there is an idea that when somebody goes to the office to apply for, drop the documents or maybe craftsman's membership, these people are being told that first of all, you have to bring EBK certificate or letter. Because by law, right now, the Act says that once you're registered at EBK, that is when you are seconded to the society. So what is your say about that? Why is it that when you still go to the secretariat, some people, administrative personnel at the secretariat still ask for EBK document, even when you're not a member? Because EBK only registers graduate engineers from right now under the Act.
Yeah, Engineer, I talked about looking at the Engineers Act 2011 holistically, and this is one of the issues that has been picked. The Act needs to be amended to accommodate everyone at the level of where they are, so that you don't leave anyone out. I think once this is done, it might take time, but I think we've agreed in principle with EBK that we have to amend this act so that we can accommodate those people, so that we don't have this kind of problem we are having of back and forth.
Now, Engineer Ndio asking, why sign an affidavit to get a license issued by the same body? Engineer Ndio, maybe you can clarify. Your mic is on. You can clarify to Engineer.
I know what he's talking about, and we've discussed it because EBK has a corporation secretary. Mm-hmm. And we were just discussing with EBK, and they are understanding what we are saying. Why do we want to go out there and then spend some money, and you're the one issuing the certificate? It's an issue that we are trying to discuss with them, so that, first of all, even if you check the Act, I don't know whether when you are renewing the license, you are supposed to do that, or when you are getting your first license. It's an issue that is under discussion. When are you supposed to sign this affidavit, and who is supposed to sign? So, Engineer Dick, we are trying to reason with EBK on this issue.
Okay. There's a document. There is a who?
Engineer Howard.
His mic was on, but there was some noise in the background, so I muted him back. And if he has a question, you let him ask, raise his hand, then we will unmute.
All right.
There is a question here from Engineer Fred. There is a document from a contract administration developed by JBC March 2020 edition under the custody of IEK. Mr. President, could you please comment on the participation of engineers in this document? This document generally puts an architect above an engineer. An engineer is answering to an architect. Engineer Collins?
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, everybody can hear you.
You are breaking. I don't know why. That's why I'm asking whether you're able to hear me.
I'm asking, there's the document by JBC under AAK that had put architects above engineers. So what is your say about the participation of engineers in this document? Was there any input from engineers?
No. We didn't have an input on this thing. I don't know whether it was a misstep. I really have to check with the Home Secretary. But I know one of our members, Engineer Sharma, could have gotten involved in this document, but we've not discussed it as a council. So it's something that we really need to pick up with AAK. We don't have a council position on this, unfortunately. At the first time I think I saw it was in the social media.
Because it is funny that IEK was not involved, yet other bodies were involved. The QS were involved, other people were involved inside it. Even NSC was involved, and we have many members, engineers sitting in those areas, because we have AAK engineers chapter, we have ANC membership has already been seconded by IEK, if I'm not wrong. Yeah,
I think there was a disconnect in this, as Sadiq Ndio is saying. There was a big disconnect on this thing, on this issue. We're also trying to pick up and see whether it is it can be salvaged, or how do we go around it.
Now there's a question. Yeah. There is a question on IEK has always seconded many members to board director positions or other parastatal chairperson positions. What is IEK doing a review on their impact on the ground? Because we've seen the positions now shifting maybe to lawyers and to humanity specialist secretaries, and engineering parastatals are being taken over by people who are not from the technical training. So what has IEK done to ensure that
it's an issue that is an issue? Yeah. You know, now this is where politics comes in, because unless we can lobby as an institution, then the appointing authority will tell you that, you know, when it comes to the position of a CEO, the CEO has the technocrats. But we've always tried to lobby, especially boards where we feel engineers should sit, including my own organization. And we are not making headway, but we are trying. Sorry?
Continue.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, we are making very little headway in this thing. We've written letters, and sometimes we've even consulted EBK. We tell them this position has been announced, advertised, and you can see the requirements that they are asking for. And the same answer we get from those authorities, the same answer they give EBK. They say, if you talk of a technical director, then yes, that one is supposed to be an year. But when you talk of a CEO, they tell you a CEO oversees the technocrats. It's an argument that we can argue here until the cows come home.
Yeah.
But we are trying. That's the much I can say.
But on those areas whereby IEK has managed to second directors or board parastatal chairpersons, have they really reported their impact on the ground? How is EBK taking account of their impact?
That's an area that we've not done very well. We've been appointing people to the boards, and I don't want to say they don't become accountable, because maybe it's us to ask them that you are in this board. What is the impact that you're making there as an engineer? But I think it's been discussed in the council. We want to change, and I hope they will change. When you're appointed to the board, or you are a nominee of the IEK to the board, then we get a quarterly report on what is happening in that board and what has been your input. We've not done that in the past. Yeah.
Okay, Diana?
Yeah, someone has sent me a question here privately, still regarding to the act. He says, but the same law says to register with EBK, you need corporate membership from IEK. How come, I'm gonna quote it, how come the president now says EBK is implementing the act by bypassing a clause in the same act?
Maybe I don't get the question.
So I will quote, it's about the act, but the same law says to register with EBK, you need corporate membership from IEK. How come the president now says EBK is implementing the act by bypassing a clause in the same act? Or I can ask him to ask.
I'm trying to understand. what the person is asking, that EBK is registering a person without being a member of a corporate member of IEK.
Well,
assuming that's the position, then actually that's a good question that we can pick up with. Assuming that that's the question and it's true, then it's an issue that we can pick up with the EBK. Yeah.
I myself do not understand the question properly. That's why I'm quiet. Anyway,
no, I was assuming that I understood it that way.
Engineer Ndewi is asking a question there. Can we co-opt such appointees to council for the purpose of accountability? I don't know what he meant by such appointees, but maybe he's talking of the directors. Or can they be called to can they be called to council to give accountability statement? Hello.
I think our question on co-option is very clear. When we are co-opting, we look at the disciplines that are not represented. So co-opting our nominees to other boards, to the council, might not be possible, but we can have a framework where they can report. They can send a report to the council, and the council can discuss their report and make recommendations. But they may not be able to sit in the council unless we change the constitution.
All right. Engineer Howard has a question. I will see if I can unmute him. Howard?
Good morning, President.
Good morning, Howard. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Happy to see you today.
Yeah, but you've not seen me. I've not seen you.
No, I blame Dolo.
Okay.
I blame Dolo. I've been following. I've been following the conversation.
Yes.
And maybe I had just wanted to highlight that when Dolo was asking about unregisterable engineers, he himself has been a victim of the same.
Yes.
Just so that you know, it's those graduates who studied, graduated, believed that they have very good and high qualifications, but then came back home and could not be registered. Some of them had actually studied on a government scholarship, and it was unfortunate.
I'm one of them, Howard, but proceed.
Oh, you are one of them? Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize, Anna. And then the second issue, I just wanted to highlight what Diana was asking a minute ago. I was actually trying to retrieve the act so that I can read that line, because the act actually says that for you to be registered as a professional engineer in EBK, you need to be a corporate member of IEK. And so when we say that EBK is now taking over registration, as their mandate, it's true that the act expects the board to be the regulator and to be registering engineers. But the same act, 2011, the number 43 of 2011, expects that when you are going to apply to IEK for corporate membership, you should be a graduate engineer with EBK. But when you are going to EBK to apply for professional engineer, you should be a corporate member of IEK. That's
Precisely.
how the clause is structured. So if we are saying that we are implementing the act, then that is one of the areas. Then we need to also remember that it's part of the act, and until it's amended, it is part of the act and should be implemented as such.
Yeah, Howard, we are trying to see how we can do this in the best way possible, because you can apply. At the moment, we've been having a scenario where you can apply to EBK or to IEK. And should you apply to EBK, they should not register you. If you go through, as the act says, they should interview you, ideally. Once you've passed your interview, they send you to IEK. You get your corporate membership. Then you come back and issue the license. That should be the ideal situation.
Yes. What I think is that,
and that's what we are.
For me, I think it's strictly a question of interpretation of that act, and it is not a straitjacket situation. This is what I mean, because the act is clear. It says EBK has the mandate to register. However, it also says that EBK has got powers to delegate to anybody. EBK can even come to Howard and tell Howard, you interview these people, and if you find they are fit, you come and tell us, we register them. In that spirit, EBK, nothing stops EBK, for example, to put it official that they have delegated such powers to IEK, and then it will make it easy for IEK to continue operating the way they've been operating, as long as the regulator puts down the standards and says, you must fulfill 1, 2, 3, 4, and when we are checking your work, we will check 1, 2, 3, 4, something, standardize it, delegate officially, and when somebody registers as a corporate member of IEK, then that person needs not to again go through intricacies, complications, of these, you need to be interviewed, this and that, because as long as we have the standard, and as long as the person doing it has got clear delegated powers in written, then it shouldn't be anything complex, because to me, that's how I understand the act.
Yes, Howard, I said earlier that we've had a first meeting with EBK. This was one of the issues. I even said that we are thinking of having only one panel, because EBK does not, actually the members who interview are IEK members. They are IEK members. So why don't we have one panel? Instead of going back and coming back, we have one panel, and not only on this registration issue. We are trying to, you are pushing me to let the cat out of the bag of what we discussed. I'll be accused that I leaked the information before the minutes came out. We are even saying that the CPD is not an issue of EBK. EBK is the regulator. You can't train and again regulate. We are thinking some of those issues, like CPD especially, should be given to IEK to run with it. Okay. And then they can remain with the regulation. But these are the points that are under discussion on the table.
It's okay. Now that I still don't know how things are going to go today until when the AGM happens, if it happens. Some of the things that the new council coming in has to put on the table. I think what I might do is, if I do not become president, I share the notes of my thoughts as president, especially on the issue of growing numbers. Because I know even if EBK retained the role of registering and IEK played another role, say like CPDs, it is still possible for IEK to play a very active role of mobilizing engineers, because nobody will register you unless you make an application, and nobody will register you unless you play your part. And this is where IEK comes in strongly, to be able to put together those numbers and ensure that they have first made the first step of applying, submitting their document, first going through the requisite training, then applying, putting in the documents. And on the other side, IEK can also put pressure on EBK for the processing part. In fact, I don't even think that IEK should be worried if the act is structured so that EBK does the registration alone. IEK should not be worried about that, because IEK then should carry the other role of mobilization, because that's what a members club is supposed to do.
Yes, Howard, can I play politics a bit now that I'm going out? I'm going
Yes,
away
yes,
anyway.
you can.
And you know, do you know what has caused all this?
Yes.
All these mistrust is us versus them.
Yes, yes.
All this mistrust, it is us versus them.
Yes.
I leave it there. I leave it there for a discussion another day. As you said, when you become the president, we'll be getting the final results today anyway. So we don't know what will happen.
Sawa sawa. And then a final comment on something else that had already been discussed about the timeline for sharing the minutes. I would still insist that we have already a standard best practice world over. And it's not a question whether this has been discussed or passed in an AGM or an SGM, because I remember the last SGM, I personally raised the issue. I asked in the SGM and I requested that the minutes be shared within 3 days, and it was answered in the affirmative that they will. So when we come to AGM 2020 happening today, likely to happen today, and we are still saying that we have never passed a resolution to share the minutes earlier, I think that might not be very, very true, because my understanding was that those minutes of the SGM were supposed to be the blueprint for the elections. I realized we even discussed about alternative dispute resolution in that SGM, but it was never captured in the minutes. But that should be a matter to be discussed in the AGM when
Howard, you are going beyond the mandate of what Ndolo said. Ndolo said what we'll discuss in the AGM should not be discussed here. But we've heard you. And my apologies, by the way. My apologies.
That's why I put a rider. That matter can be discussed at that stage.
Thank you.
But also maybe one thing I can just remind us again, when we were walking the journey of transformation, you remember in 2018, when we were doing a special general meeting to govern an election and nobody was trusting the other, that time actually the minutes had to be written by strangers so that they can be sent back to the council. Otherwise, nobody trusted that the council can write minutes and share. But that's the journey of transformation.
All right.
Okay. Howard, your last comment about the outgoing council?
President, I think your council has done really well. And the reason why your council did really well is because you came into office without controversies. I am worried about the incoming council because I think they might have to live with the tag of illegitimacy if things have to be done the way they have been done. And I don't know how that's going to play out. Of course, all of us mean well and we would like the institution to run well. But one of the reasons why you did well and you had all the goodwill from all over, it's because I think when we are going through exercises of choosing new leaders, we need to, that process usually has a very huge bearing on the success or the ease of operation of the leadership that comes into place. So the moment there is any element of opaqueness in transacting business in the process of choosing leaders, usually it has an impact on the leadership. But we'll be waiting to see how or if this will have any effect. But the bottom line, what I should say as we close here is that all of us really mean well, and we would like that whatever we do should be in the best interest of the institution.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice to hear that.
Thank you.
Yes, engineer. Thank you so much for that. And there's a question. 2018 or is it 2019, when young engineers were being mistreated at the SGR, whether it was a fact or not, engineers' voice was never heard. The media went and printed it, but engineers' voice was never heard. Now the question is this: why are engineers so elite to strike? They can't strike. They can't protest.
Yeah, I think that's a question to the public. Huh? I think we can all answer it.
No, there's a reason as to why somebody is asking that. They're asking it because there was a strike that was planned by a demonstration that was planned by Engineer Sharma. Then it was called off immediately that there was going to be some deliberation at presidential dinner, and the deliberations were never shared to members. So there's that. That's why they're asking that.
Okay. It's a difficult one because a professional body and then we get involved in strike also becomes very untidy. But we can strike.
It's not, engineer, this is not a matter of professional body. This is a matter of a professional body that is fighting for the welfare of members. And fighting for welfare of members involve such kind of actions by going to demonstration. If we cannot go for demonstration, I have not seen IEK supporting, like as an institution coming out to support what Kenya National Union of Engineers want to do, to take the action on that, from that perspective.
I'll leave that to the next council.
All right. There's a question here. Anonym, what are the 4 IEK representatives to EBK doing on these issues? President is the board member of IEK. How were these resolutions reached? Was he in the meeting? Did they vote? I think, I don't know what question is that about, but I think all the resolutions that are done at IEK, including the rules and regulations that were passed last year that came into effect this year, 2019, or rather 2019. You are a member of the board and you have other colleagues representative of IEK. You voted for those resolutions, something like that.
By the time we came to the board, the regulations had been done. And we also had our share of protests on the regulations, but maybe it was coming too late in the day. But that's where we are. Yeah.
All right. All right. I see Howard has raised a hand again. Maybe he has a question. Let me. Okay, Howard.
Ndolo, I wanted to make a comment, but now the comment will become 2. One of them is what the president has just said about the voice of IEK on EBK regarding those regulations. In good project management practice, there is what we call stakeholder management, and key stakeholders like IEK cannot and should never be ignored, regardless of at what stage the rules had reached. I think that was, if IEK gave a voice and EBK ignored, that was disastrous. Number 2, I wanted to comment about the issue of strike and protest and what have you. First, I wanted to create clarity, the difference between a strike, picket, and a demo. What engineers were supposed to go for is a demo, because, pulling a strike is like a strike in the strict definition of labor laws will involve people who are perhaps employed within a certain common bond, and then they choose not to go to work and something like that. What engineers were going for was a demonstration, not per se a strike or not a strike. And why I wish to draw that clarity is because a demonstration is just a way of expression. You are just expressing something. You can even just march. The same way on Engineers Day, engineers marched on the street and rotated around. It's not like you're going to throw stones at anybody, but you are just you are exercising your right of assembly and your right of expression, so that you communicate a point. You can develop a written memorandum. You can deliver it to the respective ministry, and you do not necessarily have to go there thumping your chest, yelling at anybody. You just walk. You have properly guided with security. You define the routes which you are going to use, get your destination, deliver a memorandum, make your statement. This has a very big role that it can play in terms of communicating the message that engineers want to communicate. And I strongly believe that it can make a huge difference, a huge difference. Thank you.
So in 1 second, are you saying that the new council should think of it if there's a call upon?
When it comes to a moment where the council needs to communicate using that method, they should not shy from using it. It's one of the methods that can be used to effectively communicate a point. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right, and I think Engineer Collins has taken that into consideration, and he will advise the incoming council, because he will still be sitting in the council as the immediate outgoing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I can see young engineer, graduate engineer, very fresh, and a member of IEK South Rift. Council. Engineer Abdi, are you there? Your mic. Abdi?
Yes, engineer. Yes, engineer, I'm there.
All right. I saw your hand raised, so maybe you have a question for Engineer Collins.
Yes, I have a question to the president.
Yes, Abdi.
Mr. President, during your time of the last 2 years, you've been the president of this institution. Can you provide us the list of all those people who have been serving courtesy of Institution of Engineers of Kenya, and what role have they added to this institution? Now that they have served at boards courtesy of this institution, what role have they played in improving or even doing something better for this institution? Can we get a clear list during your time, which you served for the 2 years, Mr. President?
Yeah, we can do that. And also, Abdi, you remember, we for the last 2 years, we've been advertising. When it comes, we send it to the members. We've not even just been sitting and making a board decision. It's something we've been doing transparently. But we can give the list of who serves in which board. Yeah.
I think the list, if we have a proper functioning website, we can always have the list on the website of the institution.
Good idea.
Will make it easy for members to get the information.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So during your tenure, I think your tenure had a nice and a progressive ideas of bringing in young, fresh, energetic members to the committees. I remember in 2016, I was in a small group called the Nucleus Team, and we were pushed aside very fast. Then Engineer Konji ensured that some of us were not, the voice of the team was not there anymore. But I think he did it maybe in a good faith, because he wanted a single voice from the society. Now you brought in during your time, you had young people even in the functions. I can say young and experienced. Engineer Lucy was one of them. So what is your take about, but I still had an idea, people saying that for one to be in the functions committee, one must be a corporate member. But yet we are seeing graduate engineers being members of the society. They need to be involved. What is your take about graduate engineers taking some of the functions in the committees? Did you get me?
That's one of the best things that will happen, because if we are doing mentorship, you can't do mentorship where some people are sitting inside the fence and some are. I got you.
All right.
And I'm saying this, if you are hearing me.
I can hear you.
That would be the best. Yeah, you can hear me. That would be the best, especially when it comes to mentorship, because it's not easy to do a mentorship where some people are standing inside the fence and some are standing outside. There's no mentorship that would be doing. And I have to check that constitution again, where it says that for you to be in the committee, you have to be corporate. If that's the thing, then the people who will be looking at the constitution should think of those issues. You know, some of these things in the constitution, they are very archaic, and some of them should be done away with. Graduate members should be able to contribute in committees, and especially when you show the interest. Yeah, that's my take.
Okay, Engineer Liu, you had raised your hand. I don't know whether you have a question. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Engineer, continue.
Yeah, Engineer Juma, thank you for the past 2 years. As you are retiring from the presidency,
thank you.
What do you think, in your opinion, is the two most important challenges that we face as a group that you can wish the incoming council concentrates on? Thank you.
The biggest challenge is, I've said it before, I'll say it again, but now let me say it in different words. The thin membrane that divides us, I don't know, EBK, and then IEK, and let's cut that membrane so that we talk, when we are talking of the fraternity, we are talking about the engineering fraternity. Some people can serve in EBK, some people can serve in ASEC, some people can serve in IEK, but when we sit down, we are reading from the same script. That is the biggest challenge. Until and unless we do that, I think we'll be having the infighting every day. Not healthy.
Okay, I don't know, do we have any other questions? We have spent 1 hour plus. This meeting was supposed to be short. But as a president, you always have questions people
Are we
want to
frozen?
Abdifat, I can see your hand.
Yes. Let me ask before.
Abdi?
Let me go back to what I asked Engineer Collins. Engineer, can we have a mechanism whereby we can have these people who are serving in other boards to be asked questions? Maybe they come to webinar every 6 months so that we can be getting a progress of their work as we continue with the year.
Abdi, you can repeat that question. Engineer was off. He came back, just came back. Abdi?
Yes, you had muted my mic. That's why I could not respond.
Yeah, you repeat the question.
Engineer.
Just ask.
My question is this: can we put measures and mechanism whereby these people who are serving in boards, courtesy of IEK, can be responsible and ask questions? Maybe they can come on webinar every 6 months so that we can see the progress. And if you're not seeing the progress, can we also put measures to recall them so that we can have people who can add value to this institution?
Okay. Engineer Collins?
I can see the president calling. Let me sort him out.
Engineer Collins, Abdi is asking if we can bring the members to a meeting like maybe this and ask them for comment.
Yes. Yes.
All right. I think Lawrence Biwott, you have a question? Where is Lawrence? Lawrence?
Hello.
Yes, hello.
My question is this for Engineer Collins. What advice does he have for the incoming council, especially on the side of what he would have wished to do for the past 2 years and didn't do, and what they should concentrate on? So that is my question. Did you get my question?
I think he did, but he unmuted. Engineer, did you get the question from Lawrence?
No, I didn't.
Okay, my question is this: what advice do you have for the incoming council, especially on areas that you would have wished to do to maybe bring change, and you did not? So, what advice do you have for them on areas that they should concentrate on, and areas they should not put more emphasis on?
The areas they should work on are only two, according to me, and they're very critical: the Constitution, and then build up a working relationship with EBK. That is very important.
Okay. So if there's no other questions, I think at this moment I would like to thank Engineer Collins for taking his time to appear on this webinar. I think we are going back to questions that were asked in the beginning because some of members are coming in right now. But Engineer Collins, Juma, I really want to thank you for taking your time to appear on this webinar. It was an initiative that we thought that would be good to bring out communication and also make the members know their president and their council members. It is good. It is good that people see, even the student engineers see the face of the president of IEK, who is also a member of
Thank you.
who is also a member of the regulators board, so that they know in advance that engineering profession is a regulated profession, and there is a society that fights for the welfare of them in whichever workplace they are in. So as usual, we try to get engineers to appear on this and ask them questions, and I really thank you for us answering some of them. I wish it could have come earlier so that we had a long time discussion, but we know there's commitment and all that. So I thank you very much. And I also thank my co-host Diana for always being on the ground to help in communication and also setting up the meetings. So engineer, just as a parting shot before we end this meeting, what is your parting shot about to the council, the new president who is the outgoing Honorary Secretary, and the members?
Members, I think the parting shot is unity and reconciliation is very important. The new president, he has the job cut for himself. He knows what to do. He's been there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to the society in totality.
I said unity is very important. If we are united, we can do a lot.
Mm. So unity.
Yeah, we should not be fragmented. These are I don't know, forming their own body. It's not healthy. Unity is very important.
Unity as a society is the most important thing, and that's what Engineer Collins Juma is telling members today. Diana, I will allow you to end the meeting for us.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you, Dolo. So Engineer Collins, thank you for creating time today, and I appreciate actually your flexibility from postponing the meeting from yesterday to today and understanding all the technical issues, your insights today, wise words, and also answering the questions that were asked diligently. I would want also to thank everyone who participated in the call, who joined in, the comments you've been making, the questions that you've been asking, and of course, I appreciate my co-host Ndolo for making this happen. So thank you, everyone. I wish you a great day ahead. Let's meet at 2 p.m. for the AGM. Bye.
Now, wanitumie login. Mimi sijapata login.
I think they're listening. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Choose, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.